Right, I'm headed up to Bush Mountain campsite, but it's already 3 o'clock, so it's probably going to be getting there in the dark. It's Friday the 24th of October, and I worked half the day, then left about noon and drove over here. I've got a campsite tonight at the Bush Mountain campsites, and then hopefully I'm going to hit 3 of the 8,000 foot peaks on this trip. It's late, so I'm going to have to get started. Don't know if I'm going to film much, but I filmed the Tejas Trail before, so we'll just see what kind of time I can make, get to the campsite, hopefully before dark, but I doubt it. Well, the trail's really overgrown, even down here. Probably gonna be worse up top. But they had a wet summer and so far a wet autumn, so plants are doing great. I don't know if you can see up there's 2 guys right there coming up. And they were in the ranger station when I was. They're staying tonight. Same place I am, Bush campsite. And then they're doing the Blue Ridge Loop tomorrow, just the same as me, so maybe kind of nice to have company tonight. I figure they're probably both 20, 25. They ought to be blowing by me here pretty quick. Well, there's those formations, so we gotta go around there. Getting close, but not quite to the halfway point to Pine Top. Made it to Pine Top. It's about 2 hours and 45 minutes. It's right at 6 o'clock, so got about an hour and a half of daylight and probably 3 miles to my campsite, so maybe some night hiking, because I remember this trail being really tough, but making good time, and hopefully be there 8 o'clock or so. Getting a little windy. It's about 57 degrees, so I am going to put on another shirt here and get after it. You can see the sun setting over there, and this is what I remember about the Bush Mountain trails. We're dropping all the way down this, and then we got to climb right back up that. And I think we do it again at least 2 more times. So this is a tough trail, but nice views, and that may be Mount Pratt right out there. Well, if it's coming out, there's the moon. Definitely not hiking now. You can see that ridge in front of us. We gotta get up that, and I believe drop and climb 1 more to get there. About a mile, I think. Well, that's looking pretty much due north from the side of Bush Mountain. Bush Mountain's right up there. You can't see it, but right here's the turnoff, so we made the campground. Just gotta go down here a little ways and find a place to camp and set up the tent. This is the Bush Mountain campground, and I guess there's 5 spots here. I only found 3, and those 2 were both taken. So I ended up taking this one. As you can see, it's pretty grown in. Out here in the dark last night, the wind was about 25 miles an hour. And made it fun setting up the tent, but that died off around 1 o'clock, and it's been calm ever since. But we just about got everything packed up. Tent's the last thing to go, and we'll be heading out of here. It's right at 8 o'clock. Got down to 39 last night, and it's about 40 right now. But I'm all packed up, getting ready to head out. Alright, well, back down there's the Bush Mountain campsites. The Bush Trail comes down this way, and it's going to go up, and that's Bush Mountain in front of us. We came over here to this little overlook to just kind of see, because at some point I want to do that mountain right there. That's Bartlett. And I'll probably start it from here, so you'll be going down that ridge there and then up. And then once you get Bartlett, you got to get over to Chamard, which is that one right there. And that looks like the tough one. But that's for another day, probably next month or December. If I could find a day like today, it'd be great. No wind. Cool enough. Shouldn't overheat. Those are some great views out there. I wanted to come up here last night and see if I could see that comet and see if I had cell signal, especially on top of Bush, but it was cold and the wind was blowing so hard it just didn't sound like a lot of fun, so I just hunkered down in the tent. But yeah, I think we got a quarter mile and a 300-foot climb to the top of Bush. Oh, you can see the radio towers right there. That should be the summit of Bush, so we're almost there. Second highest in Texas. Well, I think the sign has seen better days, but we're up on Bush Mountain. Looks like the high point's over here. This is the top of Bush Mountain. And you look over there, there's Hunter Peak. And as you go this way, there's Guadalupe, Chamard, and Bartlett. And then just forever, Del City out there. Looks like it's over here. Those gypsum sand dunes out there. New Mexico out that way. Oh, there it is. Does it say 1932? $350 fine for disturbing that. Well, the trail from Bush Mountain probably all the way over to Blue Ridge is just really overgrown. And there were two guys camped beside me. They were doing this loop too, and they're in front of me, so I may have an actually easier time than they did, because I probably knocked some of these bushes down. But yeah, this is tough. If I get anywhere I'm not sure I'm supposed to be, I'll have to use a GPS. Does it turn right there? I bet it goes out to the right there. Let's go look up here. That's a cool rock formation. Cliff face. Alright. This looks like the trail. Haven't quite got the Blue Ridge yet, but I'm thinking it's this one here or close to it. And I haven't seen those two guys that were in front of me, but I heard some people right up the trail, so that's either them and I'm catching up, which is unlikely, or somebody's coming this way. So maybe we'll pass somebody here in a minute, but trail has been, I haven't really had too hard a time finding it or staying on top of it, but there have been a few places where you had choices and you kind of had to scout around. And there's actually been quite a few deadfalls like the one in front of us, or worse, but overall it hadn't been a bad trail. I've reached the jumping off point to get to Blue Ridge. That's Blue Ridge right up there. From what I understand, there's no views from up there, so it's just trees, but the high point's up there about 100 yards, 200 yards. So I'm going to start making my way here. I think I'm going to leave my pack stuff right here off the trail. May hang it from that dead tree over there. And then get started up that way, hopefully. Shouldn't take very long to get up there and back. Right up in here a little ways should be top of Blue Ridge. Okay, here's the junction where the bush trail is going to turn left and go down, and the junction with the Blue Ridge Trail. So we'll be on Blue Ridge Trail from now on. But that hill in front of us is Blue Ridge North, so we got to get to the top of it. Good news is this trail goes almost to the top. It's not far from, not a whole lot of off trail to the top of it. So, and I've come up the Bush Mountain that way and did the Blue Ridge Trail. But I've never, this is the first time I've done the Bush Trail from Bush Mountain to this point. And at one point I had a goal to do every trail in the park, and there were two sections of two trails that I've never done. One of them was that little piece of the Bush Mountain Trail that we just finished. And then there's about a quarter mile of the Blue Ridge Trail that I've never done that goes from the Marcus Junction over to the Tejas Trail. So we'll be doing that today. So once I get that, I will have hiked every trail in the park. Other good news is that Bush Mountain Trail was so hard to follow. I only got off trail one time and had to turn my phone back on and check my GPS. And I was definitely off trail, but only 100 feet or so. But, well, I think this trail's still going to be overgrown because not many people come to this part of the park. At least it's a trail I've been on once before, so I feel a little more confident in being able to find my way. All right, well, I've reached the point where I'm going to jump off the Blue Ridge Trail and head to the summit. And I think it's just right up there. I don't even think it's 100 yards up there. We'll see when I get there. I'm probably going to drop my pack on that tree there. That's looking back towards Bush Mountain. And then this rounded one closest to us, that's Blue Ridge, where we just came from. And we came down into this saddle and then down. And down in here is where the junction is with the Blue Ridge and Bush Trail. But I'm going to run up here real quick, tag this high point, It's funny, I remember that tree from last time I was here. It looks like the monster from Stranger Things. But anyway, campground is not too far over here. I'll probably stop there and take a break because I'm pretty tired. So I'm gonna go up here, tag the summit. Well, this right here is the highest point I could find, really, on Blue Ridge North. So I'm gonna call this the top, and this I came over to this little gully to get some of a little view. Again, looking back at Blue Ridge and back towards Bush Mountain. So that's the 8,000 or so I was planning on getting on this trip. And after this, I'll just have 3 left to go. But if you've been watching the videos and keeping count, you're thinking, well, no, you got 6 left to go. But here's the story of that. So I didn't make it to the top of Peak 8040 when I went and did Baldy Peak. But I said I was going to go back. And after I posted that video, another YouTuber reached out to me, a guy named Travis from the YouTube channel Travis Sphere. And he said, hey, I've been there. If you want to go, I'll take you, or we can go together. So I met Travis over there in July, this past summer. We were actually there the week after the big floods down in Kerrville. And so they had had a ton of rain in the Davis Mountains as well. It was the greenest and most water either of us had ever seen there. And in fact, we had to do some creek crossings to get to the base of Peak 8040. But we eventually made it to the top. He showed me a route through those cliff bands. Wasn't really that difficult. There wasn't a lot of exposure anyway. There was some rock climbing, but not a lot of exposure. But anyway, we did make it to the top, and here's a video of that. Sorry, it was pretty windy that day, so it was kind of hard to hear. Alright, finally made it to the top of Peak 8040. But I had a guide this time, Travis from Travis Sphere. And thanks for getting me up here, man. I appreciate it.
Oh, awesome, man. I'm glad we finally met up for a hike.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it for a long time.
Good, huh? I enjoyed it too. We had a perfect day.
Hopefully it stays that way.
Yeah. But I did make it to the top of Peak 8040, so I can scratch that one off my list. And thanks again to Travis. Appreciate you taking time out of your day to take me over there. Hopefully we can meet up again and do some more hiking. That was a lot of fun. But then, so that leaves 5 that I still haven't done. But actually I went and did Guadalupe Peak and El Capitan on Labor Day. And I made it to the top of Guadalupe Peak, and then I went off trail and I made it to the top of El Capitan. And then in a moment of stupidity, and I meant to put my camera in my pack, the big pack pocket, but then at the last second I thought, no, I might want to film something on the way down, so I stuck it in the water bottle pocket. And I came down from the top of El Capitan and made it to the low point, and then you have to climb 900 foot back up to get to the trail at Guadalupe Peak. I'd come up about 100 foot of that trail when I stopped to take a break, pulled out my camera or reached for my camera to film something, and my camera was gone. It had fallen out of the water bottle pocket. So I did turn around and go back. I dropped back down that 100 feet, and then I started climbing up, back up El Capitan, which is about a 500 foot climb in brush, and it was tough. I made it up about 200 feet, just below that, beside that big bite, and I was looking under brush and bushes and trees, and I just didn't think there was any way I was going to find that camera. Even if I was right on top of it, I might not see it. So eventually I gave up. I was running out of time and I was just beat, and I still had that 900-foot climb ahead of me. So I eventually just turned around and went back, and I left that camera there. And hopefully we'll go back in January or February if I can get a weekend with no wind, and I'm going to climb El Capitan again, and I will film it so that I at least have a record of it. But I'll also try and find that camera. I've talked to the rangers. They have not had one turned in, but they're on the lookout for it. But Leah, the ranger that I talked to the most, she goes, that camera's still there. She goes, nobody's been over there, and probably no one will go over there. So I don't know how often people do El Capitan, but I know people do it. So there's a chance somebody could find it and turn it in, or find it and keep it. But hopefully I'll get it back. I did take some pictures with 2 other cameras, but just not my main cameras. So I have this picture from the side of El Capitan, or video. I reached for my camera and it was gone. I know I put it in my pocket, but somewhere it had fallen out. So I went back up as far as I could. I was just beat, and it's so tough I couldn't make it back up. So somewhere in there is a DJI camera. Sorry I don't have the video. Kind of sad. When I was on top of Guadalupe Peak, a group of Mennonites summited Guadalupe Peak. The girls were all wearing dresses, and the men were all wearing slacks and nice shirts and dress shoes. And when they got on the summit, they played a little radio and they sang some hymns in German, and they let me film it. So I had that on that video as well, and it's gone. So yeah, I'm kicking myself. That was a stupid thing to do. But live and learn. So now I'm back to using these GoPros that just eat batteries. I'm on my 5th battery on this trip already. I only have 1 left, so hopefully that'll get me back to the car. I probably won't film a lot now that I've made it to the 3 high points that I planned on doing. Probably about 9 miles back to the car. But this is the top of Blue Ridge North. It's not all that exciting, but I have now made it up here and can scratch it off my list. I made it back to the trail, but I came down way away from where I'd left my backpack, because here's that spooky tree. It kind of reminds me of that monster from Stranger Things. Now I gotta find my pack. I left it up here somewhere. There it is. Well, I'm gonna load it up, head off to this campground and take a break. Okay, made it to the junction of the Marcus Trail, the Blue Ridge Trail. So the Marcus Trail heads off up that way, which I have done. But for the next quarter mile down to the Tejas Trail, this will all be new. Well, here's the junction with the Blue Ridge Trail and the Tejas Trail. Been dropping that. That didn't take any time at all. But this is the Tejas Trail, so once I step on it, I will have completed every trail in the park. 12:30. Probably 1:30 to get back to Pine Top. 2 hours down from there. So hopefully 3:30, 4 o'clock we ought to be back at the car. But I've got to sit down right here and get rocks out of my shoe. All right, well, back to the Pine Top, the crest. We just got to drop down the Tejas Trail back to the parking lot. About 3 miles. That's where we went up yesterday.